Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I am super happy today to have a special guest, Mr. Kenzie Dodds. How you
Hey,
doing, my
everybody,
friend?
what's up? I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this and yeah, for helping me out with my stuff.
I need to get rid of the music. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm very happy to help you out.
well, thank
Okay,
you.
my bad. Sorry. I had the classic thing where the YouTube video starts with a delay in the background and it messes with my.
Yep, I had that going too.
So, a little bit of background. Kent reached out to me about a couple of weeks ago mentioning that he needs some Tailwind CSS help with a pretty ambitious project, part of his Epic Web course. Do you want to just give us a little intro about what you're working on and how I can help?
Yeah, totally. So the project I'm working on, actually, do you want to share or let me share my
You
screen
want to start
here?
share your screen, yeah? So we're going to switch
Yeah.
to this view. Let's go.
All right. So I am building epicweb.dev. This is everything you need to know to ship modern full stack web applications. And the idea is I want to take everything that I know about the web and teach people how to do it. And so I've been building for the web for coming up on a decade, really. Holy smokes.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that I want to share. And so what I'm going to do is this is going to be similar to Epic React.dev, where we've got a bunch of these different workshops that we work through. Um, and the promise is at the end, you will be an Epic React dev. And so I'm expanding that beyond just React and saying, I want you to be an Epic Web dev. And so what I'm
Nice.
building is a application that is intended to be like a full real world type of app that has all the features that you would expect from the type of app you would build at work. And then we're going to turn that app into workshops to teach you all of the different pieces so that you can, if you follow through linearly, you can kind of build the app with me. Or at any point, you can say, you know what, I want to learn about authentication. And so we go over to the authentication workshop or whatever. Um,
Nice.
but to make it feel real world, it's got to look really nice. And right now, it's at rocketrental.space. It does not look nice at all. So, but
To
there is
start.
like there's a lot of stuff in here
Oh,
already.
wow.
So, like, oh, actually, I think it hasn't deployed in a while, so I should just run this locally. um, but yeah, so we've got searches built in. We even have a geolocation feature, so these will display like how far away these starports are from you,
Yeah.
and it will filter down to the rockets that are at that starport, stuff like that. So there's a lot to it. It's a really big and ambitious project, and of course I've got a bunch of designer or like there's a consulting company that I'm working with to
Yep.
build out these awesome designs. Um, and so yeah, there's a lot to this, and I would love your help in implementing some of these designs, or at least getting off on the right foot for implementing these designs.
Yeah. Sounds great. Great intro. So yeah, I've looked at these Figma designs and it's fantastic. It's really, really, really nice. There's a lot of interesting parts and complex UI bits, which I think can be pretty interesting to do on streams. So my sort of question, because if you zoom out, there is a lot. There's that landing page, but then there's all the different views. Like there's some chat, there's some rocket search, filtering. There's a lot of stuff happening. Um, Obviously, we can't do all of this in one stream. I wish I was that fast.
Yeah,
um,
me too.
yeah. So the idea is like, do we go in sort of prototyping mode where we put different bits of the UI together, or do we just start at the top and go like try to go pixel perfect and set all the colors and spacing and everything exactly like the design wants? There's a bunch of different approaches. Either take it from like an architecture, like big picture. I know there's at the bottom a light mode, dark mode switch, and you mentioned the light mode is coming soon. So, for example, in that specific point, you would either prefix all the colors and things you think are going to change with the dark variant, or you would make the dark the default version and then have a light variant to flip it like the other way. Uh, this sort of stuff, like I don't know if you want to build it like you're building the production thing from the start, or more interested in going through different layouts and interesting parts you think you might struggle in terms of CSS and layouts, and nerd out on these ones instead.
Yeah, that's I think because we do have like this components thing here, so we could just like go straight to the components as well. But I think what would be like the best use of our time is to focus on the like not getting pixel perfect. Yeah, like landing page would be really helpful. And then and like maybe some of the components, like we can look at some of these and see if any of these are particularly more complicated or at least interesting for people who are watching. But I should mention also, since a lot of the people watching may not be aware, but I am live streaming everything that I'm doing in building this as well. So on my YouTube channel, if we don't get to anything here, then you just subscribe to my YouTube and you'll be able to watch me build the rest of it myself. Probably not as efficiently.
Something I really appreciate about you is you have these, not only just the office hours where you answer questions, but also just like, I'm working on this part of the UI and I'm just going to stream it for like 3-4 hours straight. And I'm not necessarily talking to the audience, but I just build in public. And that's something I want to do more of, and encourage people at the company I work at, ThinkMill, shout out. There's a bunch of them in the chat I can see. Hey, you're an example of doing things in the open and just not necessarily having a very rehearsed stream, just like hey, if you're interested in seeing how I think and how I get stuck on problems, just tune in. And I really like that.
Thank you.
So I do like your approach, and I think it makes sense. For example, something I was thinking of is there's obviously that brand color, but it's very close to the indigo color in Tailwind. So for this sort of stuff, if you're prototyping the whole page, of course, we could map all the design tokens and colors, but I feel like if you use indigo 500 or 600 for this brand color, it's gonna be super close. So if we want to bring the value in like the layouts and the overall page structure, maybe we can put little prototyping hats. I always have two modes when I work. Is either I just build stuff rapidly and try to mold them into shape, and then do a second pass where, okay, now let's bring the tokens, the font, the spacing, all that stuff. And then the other approach is I go in Figma and I inspect every single spacing. I don't know if you know, but if you press, I think it's Option key, when you have one element selected and then you hover the next one, it shows you these red little squares. It shows you the exact spacing.
Ooh, fancy.
So when I build with Tailwind, I every time I want to apply a margin top to the next element, I just do that trick to know. And if it's 24, I know it's 6, because 6 times Tailwind has that everything multiplied by 4 basically is the pixel value. And I just, but you obviously go a little bit slower like this, but it's also interesting to see how precise and surgical Tailwind can be, because we can build this thing pixel perfect, or we can, but we will probably just do a couple of sections, or we can do more sections, just to give you an idea of how I would approach the problems, because there's some really interesting problems in that page.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think I want to avoid being pixel perfect. And the nice thing is, when I was working for somebody, being pixel perfect was like a really important part of my job. Like they really wanted me to, not take design liberties. But this is my project. I'm the boss and I get to say what gets shipped. So if it's not pixel perfect, as long as it looks fine, then I'm good. So yeah, let's go with, yeah, it is. I have an idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try join the Figma thing, and you can follow my cursor so I can show you what I think is an interesting part. Yeah, sure.
You got to let me appear in Figma first.
I don't know
how. I have the stream overlay. I think if you see me on the top.
I can.
And I think now if I zoom out, zoom in, it kind of follows along. I'm not sure it does, but.
Yeah, I can see what you're doing.
Yeah. So if I zoom in first, all these little elements, the planets and stuff, it would be probably absolutely positioned elements. And I imagine the designers, because they really went into details, you can't see on the stream, but there's a little square that comes around. Each of these is a separate element. So I imagine they'd want it to maybe on scroll, move at different speeds to give some parallax 3D space effect.
Yeah.
Maybe even spin. that sort of stuff you don't really do with Tailwind. You would position them with Tailwind, but then something like GreenSock or some sort of like page scrolling animation library is a good way to, or 3D D3, that's the one. So I don't think we're gonna do that.
That's fine.
That form is definitely interesting. This inline form is kind of like complex. From other designs, if I go here, I can see that you actually have more like sort of, it's not just drop downs, but it's more like a search, like combo box. So for that stuff, again, you could use Headless UI or Radix, or I think that's what Downshift does as well, the OG of combo boxes. So you would know about combo boxes if you built Downshift.
Yeah, yep. And we're actually right now using Downshift for that feature.
Oh, there you go.
Although I am thinking about switching to Radix for because it just has a lot more components that I'm going to need anyway.
Yeah. So I haven't used Downshift. Apologies. I don't know what the styling story is.
Radix,
Radix,
it doesn't render anything for you. You render it all yourself.
Yeah. So you can style it as you want. Yeah, it's one of that was like the first of all the headless components, I guess, maybe Rich UI and things like that.
Yeah, it's the first really popular one, I think.
Yeah, so that's how you would approach that. But I think if we focus on the layout, there's that CSS 4 in with the little circle button. This is very standard to me. It's just like a left align stuff with an image on the right. That's pretty standard. When I say standard, I don't want to diminish but in terms of layout work, it's there's no really complex problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
The next thing I find really interesting is that one, and it might look very simple at start, but if you look on the left here, it's left aligned with the max width container that the whole page has. But then on the right, it goes all the way to the right, so you can't easily put it inside a max width container, and it's kind of tricky to figure out how to left align something that uses all the rest of the width. So when you look at it first, you don't see it, and if you think about it, it's kind of like, and we could probably play around this one for a bit. That one definitely, I like that. I imagine that it's like infinitely scrolling around like a marquee. Is that the intent? Do you know? Or?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't talk to the designers about this specifically, but I do believe that is like the intent.
So because there's different logos or icons, I imagine this one is a new thing. So I imagine it wants to go, and it's got this kind of like infinite scrolling news sticker thing. So that's kind of fun, especially because it's rotated and it's got different border colors and lots of good stuff.
I'm actually still trying to figure out that. So they're saying Rocket Sparrow will arrive in 4,500 light years, and I'm not sure how you could run a business on renting rockets that take that long to get where they're going.
So I like that. 2 clicks, 2 clicks, and then wait 45,000 million light years.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll probably need to change the wording there, but I like the design element, and I'm sure there's something we can put in there that would be interesting. So
that section is pretty, again, it seems complicated, but I see a 2-column grid, and then there's a little offset. That can't be all a grid because it's impossible to have different cell, like horizontal row splits, but you can have 2-column, and then inside of it, one flex vertical container, or even like a stacked stuff, and then another one with a bit of spacing. And that seems to be centered aligned with the whole thing. And the rest, that's nice, but it's pretty straightforward. Card with an image, text. There's nothing super. Maybe I'm making assumptions, but the way, if I look at it, building lots of websites, nothing scares me in there. Where the parts where we stopped at, I was like, oh, that requires some thinking. This is the ubiquitous now. Next.js, Apple, like this, like gradient text. You must have that in a website. There's an interesting. It's fairly easy to do, but it's an interesting CSS tricks to do. Again, probably a scrolling thing. I imagine you want to swipe them and it snaps a line. You can't infer everything from design, but and that's I would see two ways to approach this. One crazy way where you have this giant circle, I think, or you can't see when I highlight elements, but this is, the designer has made a big circle. You can see that line that keeps going around. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. So it's literally a circle that goes all the way there. You could do that and then position each planet absolutely. But I think you can probably also just have, I'm trying to do a screenshot rectangle, but just an image that encompasses the 5 planets, and that's probably much easier to achieve than do. So again, there's like how deep you want to go.
Yeah, and one thing we don't have here is mobile designs yet. That would probably, if we just did an image that had all of these with the line, that would be hard to make mobile friendly, I think.
Well, you would just scale down. I kind of think that would work. It would shrink down. It kind of looks like this. I mean,
just like a smaller version of the image. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling the opposite, where when you start positioning things absolutely, you need to figure out at what point do the absolute positioning changes so it makes sense in a narrow layout. And there's a lot more work if you do things individually. For like this vessel and this rocket and like little individual stuff, yes, but maybe that one would be. I mean, this right here would be a stream by itself, like just spending an hour or two trying to nail that thing. And do we want the planet to zoom and scale and crazy stuff?
Yeah, probably not.
So out of everything I've covered, is there anything you're interested to start with? The ones that tickle me the most is the sticker here, this one, and probably the form at the top.
I'd like to start with the form at the top, I think. And I think by doing that would have us force us to set up a couple of things in the Tailwind config that would be useful later on too. And it would at least make it easier for me to start up my app and land on the homepage and feel like this is real.
Yeah. So maybe we can actually build the whole hero section. By hero, I mean up to the scroll point here. That seems to be like the first call out hero section, and it's kind of like you said, if you click on localhost 3000 and you see that, it gets you in the, hey, I've got something in motion. It's not just like black and white.
Yeah, exactly. It'll make me a lot more motivated.
Yeah. I only have preview access to this, so if I zoom right in, I can see there's this background pattern with like little stars. I can't actually select or export any of these, but I imagine you have access.
Yeah, actually, bad news. I don't think I do either.
All right, that's okay. Yeah. So just a bit of theory, that would probably be a repeating background pattern, like a little tile.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know if maybe this is what you're talking about. If you can see my screen, I do get like the CSS code from that, and I can see, like, I can look at the inspect tab. Is that what you're talking about, or do I need more?
If you right click on it, are you able to? Is there like no? You just have preview as well.
No.
Yeah, it's preview file. Because normally you can save as SVG or PNG or like that's how you can get assets out, or you can export them. I'm not able, so I imagine you're not able either. So instead of doing that, let's just the way I would do this is a repeating background pattern, because if you look at the stars, there's a bunch of, if you pick one that's a little bit bigger, and then you go to the right, you will see at some point it repeats. It's not like an infinite randomized. There's always you can make a square that kind of, if you tile it side by side and up and down, it's a perfect like it's flawlessly replicating. So you would have a background image that does that for the whole website, basically.
Yeah, I'm fine with I think it'd be cool to generate this from code, and so like every time you refresh it's different. but like that would be pretty cool. But I don't know if that sounds like an entire stream by itself.
Yeah. Both of us work a lot with Voitaholic, who is like a really, really talented designer / engineer. And I know in his brain he would like generate particles with like something like D3 or 3JS, and then they would move and probably have different depth and blur to give a sense of perspective. And as you scroll, they would just parallax background. So yeah, different stream. Maybe you could do something like this with Voita. That'd be a pretty interesting stream.
Yeah, that would be pretty epic.
Yeah. So are you okay for that to just, we pick up a background color and we just have like a little command to do implement background or something like that?
Yep, that's fine.
All right. So let's start. I don't know to what level of readiness you have a remix site, yeah? Mm-hmm. And it's the newest version, which means there's Tailwind CSS running.
Yep.
Beautiful.
It's so we've got built-in here. Actually, let me improve my settings here for this live stream so that people can see a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Should be able to see a lot more clearly there. Okay, so we'll look at our index in our routes. I
love that you have a lot of the logic and routes already in place. As I see the tree of files, there's a lot of stuff happening here.
Oh yeah, yep. Actually, I would say the functionality is like 80% there, maybe 90. So we just need to make it look nice now. So anyway, we've got right now just a bunch of links to things. I haven't done anything in this file for like a month or two. So
yeah. And are these links is because the design doesn't really have a navigation?
No.
That like footer links or something, or you just
that was just like for me as I was developing, so we can delete all
data.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Just so I could click on it easily and start working on this and stuff. So
all right, but is Tailwind already running? You've set it up with the perfect.
Yep.
So for those who don't know, like Remix now supports basically a Tailwind integration. So instead of doing the whole setup manually, you can go in the config and go future unstable Tailwind equals true or column true. And then you still have to create a config file and a CSS file, but then you do have Tailwind running.
I just committed this like an hour ago or two ago, and this is all that I had to do. I removed my own Tailwind CLI usage here and my own stuff there. And then in my remix config, I added unstable post CSS and also a couple other useful things too. And I have my post CSS config right there. So
nice. Yeah. So that's all you need to get Tailwind running. What's your workflow? Usually I comment tab between the browser and the code and Figma, and I look at the design and then I go in the code and then I look what it looks in the browser and just keep cycling around. How do you want to go about this?
We can do something that's like a side-by-side. And unfortunately, I was going to figure out HMR before the stream, but because they have a preview release of HMR, which would be sweet. But I think we'll get live reload, and so it'll be close enough.
Yeah, we're doing mostly CSS work, so the live reload is mostly fine. Like you just save, it looks different, and you keep iterating.
Mm-hmm.
So are we doing this? If you go to the Figma design, let's pretend we do a hero section. So
can I make this? Can I collapse this?
Command dot or command periods, it removes all the UI.
Oh,
except
beautiful. Nice.
A designer called Matt Barron, who might be watching, gave me that tip about 15 years or 10 years ago, I don't know, in Sketch. And when I tried Figma the first time, that's the first thing I checked. Does it work? It does.
Oh, it brilliant.
Gets everything out of the way so you can have a designer look clutter-free and then bring back the comments if you need them.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
All right, so you can see with the view you have now that there is a clear max width container so if you look at where the logo is and then the big headline, large selection of high speed rockets, they both align. And I guess the end of the sign in button is so there's two approaches. When you prototype, I would never most people that are new to Tailwind, they're going to think straight away, oh, okay, let's build a max width container, which you can actually, there's one that exists in Tailwind out of the box. But for now, we're prototyping, so I don't mind if each section we build has the same max width container with the same padding. It's just like you copy and paste stuff, and then you can consolidate it later.
Sure.
So the first thing I would do is actually, well, we can do it in the main, but the navigation is probably outside of the main tag. I don't know if you can have like fragments. Yeah. And I would, I don't want to turn this into a HTML workshop, but I'd have a header tag just for the navigation, and then the nav inside that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So it's the thing with Tailwind is it doesn't really, unless you do grid or flex work, it doesn't really dictate how you should structure your markup. So it's kind of valid to write the HTML first and then style it. But what I see looking at the Figma is there's two things. There's a logo on the left, and then there's action buttons on the right. Yeah. And the easiest way with CSS to kind of make them go left and right is to put them in the flex parent and then go justify between. So it's going to push everything, use all the space between and push them to the edges.
So with that, are we still going to use the UL and LIs for the because the logo is going to navigate to home.
Yeah, so the logo is probably going to be
a
link. Yeah, you probably actually don't really, there's no navigation if you think, I mean, the home logo is a navigation item, but I think I myself use nav when it's like a list of navigation items.
Yeah.
I've never wrapped a single link inside the nav.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Don't take my word for it.
but we do have technically three. We've got the logo, the search page, and the login. Like this is just a link to the search, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I
thought
think.
The search was more like a button that triggers some like
UI.
Yeah,
it might. I haven't seen any designs that have it like expand or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say it's a nav with three things. So the first thing I would do is on the nav element. I would give a class of flex, class name flex, and then justify between. And do you have autocomp? Yes, you do. So what it's gonna do, not much just now, but it's gonna say if you have every element as a child is gonna be equally spaced to the outside. So because we have one on the left and then two on the right, we kind of want to wrap the logo in its own thing and then the action buttons in its own thing as well. And that's what I meant by when you do flex or grid work, sometimes you have like an extra wrapping div to kind of like put things into children families, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I'd get rid of the unordered list. Maybe you can just comment out the whole. Oh,
we'll just get rid of it all.
Git.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the first one would be the logo. Text is fine for now. And then for the next two, you would have to have a wrapping container, so you can have a div here. And then inside, maybe just do two links for now, and one that's called search, and one sign up, and then we'll style them.
Yeah, okay. Actually, we can probably use
in Remix.
This thing.
Oh, actually, Next.js changed it now. So can you just put class name on the links? Like it just turns into an anchor tag. You don't have to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So link. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Perfect. So let's look at what we have now. It's not gonna look any good, but you can see that it's already pushing things to the edges. So the next thing I'd do is on the header. So the wrapping header, which is you could do that on the nav, but here I would add the max width container and the vertical padding and things like this. So
okay, yeah.
Maybe just look in Figma what sort of width we have. If you can somehow figure out, maybe the whole navigation block should tell you. It's probably 1400.
Yeah, it looks like it's 14.
No, that's the whole composition. But like from from the left of the logo to the right of the button. Yeah, there must be a
120.
parent. You might need to bring the with comment periods to bring the panels back.
Oh, okay.
You might be able in the sidebar to find which one is the container of the navigation.
Oh, I see.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, so it'd be this one. Here we are.
So
The
one
header.
of them should do a rectangle perfectly around the navigation somehow.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, we just make something up.
Yeah, I see
Oh, I got it. So I've got it on my Figma. So it's 1200. So we want a max width container in the. Yeah, I got it further below because I couldn't get it with the nav, but I got another block that has the same width, and it's
I see.
1200 pixels. Yeah.
Okay.
So if
So
you
then,
go in the header, there's I think max width 7XL. So don't press enter and just go max W and then start going down with the arrow, and we should see the values. I think 7XL is very close to what we want. One more down. Yeah, 1280. So what I would do is actually choose that, and then you're likely gonna have some padding on the side, so you can kind of narrow it down just a bit with the. You might need to make it bigger to see the difference. So now it's left aligned. So to put it in the middle, you can add margin left and right auto, and there's a class called MX auto that does that.
I'm just gonna make this a bit.
Yeah, zoom out when that's
There we go. Yeah, so I have some room here, and we'll put this on the bottom.
Good.
There we go.
It's so tricky to show multiple windows.
Yeah.
And I recently started doing trying to do like vertical videos for like TikTok. And,
that's even harder.
And then it's a whole different ball game because you need to have narrow windows so you can stack.
Yeah, what a pain. Okay, sorry. So you said
so
margin
MX,
auto, is that what?
Yeah, MX-auto will just put that in the center. Yeah. The thing below is the main. So we're getting there. And then let's forget the design, but I would add a vertical padding, so with PY, and add probably 6 or 8. I don't know. I always do 6 for everything, just so it's not completely touching the top of the screen. Yeah. And before we go further, let's put a. I mean, it's not black, but if we put a black background, that's just gonna give us a close enough. I think you can inspect the background color and pass it.
Yeah. Let's do that. Would we put that on the body, I guess, or what difference would that be versus HTML versus body? Would
body
it make
is
a difference?
fine. There's not really. I mean, the HTML is more cover everything, but the body is always gonna use all the height, so I would put that in the body.
Okay.
The only class I ever add to the HTML is scroll smooth or smooth scroll, because it makes this, like, when you click an anchor link, it kind of slides nicely to the next spot, and it has to be on the HTML. But
okay, so this is the hex for the background. So how would I do that?
Either a temporary hack / escape hatch, but Tailwind has things called arbitrary values. So, you know, if you go BG dash, you have all the, that. You put square brackets, and then whatever you pass will work. And so now that's what I was meaning. You're probably going to make all your text white, but technically it's the dark mode version. So I say, let's forget about, let's say it's all dark mode. And then when you implement the dark and light, you might have to come back and change. It's not going to be all the classes. It's going to be mostly background color, text color, border color, things like this. So
I think what I would like is it makes the most sense to default to light mode.
Yes.
And then would you say we build this like dark mode, and then when we add light mode later, we just add a dark prefix to everything, and then configure the light, or sorry, to everything that needs to be changed.
Yeah, my suggestion is to come back and find and replace. It feels like a lot of work, but it's not that. You look for BG dash and you find all the background colors, and then you add dark in front. Because the other approach would now to switch on dark mode I think by default it does it with the prefers, I don't know, prefers color scheme dark. I forgot the name of the media feature, but feature query.
Yeah.
But you could now technically, when we go put the white text on the header, you would, instead of just going text white, you would go dark column text white, so it would only be the dark mode. But it means we're gonna spend the whole stream forgetting and adding dark to every single class.
Yeah. No, we're not going to bother with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So you've done an interesting thing right now. You've because a lot of people say with Tailwind you lose the cascade and all the stuff, and what they usually mean is you lose inheritance. So if you style a parent, the children don't have it, and that's just wrong. And you just showed it. You've put text white on the header, so every children becomes white. I usually avoid doing this because you get in this mindset of styling things where they need to get styled. But if you know everything's gonna be white text by default, maybe for if you put it here, we don't have to add text white to everything because we're doing the dark mode.
Yeah, but I would actually probably do it in the root here, and then override so
in specific
places,
just
right?
Make a note that you're setting yourself for like, oh, why is this thing white? I didn't tell it to be white because you kind of opt in this like global style, which is fine, but like in Tailwind, typically, usually you like do little surgical procedure on every element. But this makes total sense for today. So you're like, okay, now I don't want to have to put text white on every single thing.
Yeah, actually, I ran into this problem a bit with my own website where when I have this little thing that pops up, I'm in dark mode, but like this thing is in light mode. And so I have to think about like, oh yeah, I need to turn this back to this opposite color of what everything else is. It just makes it a little bit trickier to think about. So
it's kind of like a rake to step on later, that text white in body, because you're gonna skip setting stuff to white, and then when you remove it, everything's gonna go black. So just be aware of that. But maybe for today, it's kind of say, hey, I want the default color to be white instead of black.
Yeah. So what would you would recommend putting the text color on each element by default? Yeah. Well, let's do the thing that you recommend.
Yeah, I would just, even if it's more typing, I would make everything one by one text white, so you don't get to I had this stream text white thing on body. You remove it and stuff goes all black. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
I'm fine with doing that.
And you've seen what Ken's just done is multi-cursor, and it's one of the most useful skills in Tailwind. Just select multiple class names. Yeah, I think even in the docs, Adam and team have added tips on how to use multi-cursor, and because most people want to abstract something to avoid doing that sort of stuff. Later, you can have a nav link component, whatever, but as you prototype and even for production, it's not a big deal to have multi-cursors and add the same class. It repeats itself, but it compresses really well because it's a token when you do gzip, and it's like, oh, I know that thing. I don't have to you compress it really well. So it's visually scary, but it doesn't really do anything bad.
Yeah.
All right. So can you guess what the next thing you should do with on the right of this navigation of this header?
Oh, yeah, sure. Like we need to inline those, like flex probably. That's what I would do.
So now you have a flex child, which is also a flex container, and you can nest flex independently. And so by default, it's going to put them side by side, but the vertical alignment is going to be start. Yep, add a gap.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a gap we need. Yeah, it looks like we need quite a bit more.
Yeah, it looks like
not
8
quite
to me, 10.
Yeah.
And that's typically where I would do the inspection and look at the value. And then I've done it for long enough that any pixel value that appears, I immediately know the divided by 4 for the scale in Tailwind. So you added a flex gap.
You get really good at your 4 times table.
Yeah, the 4s table, yeah. The 16s and 4s. So now we want them to vertically align. Okay, so now that's where this is not correct. This is for vertically aligning stuff.
I'm bad.
That's okay. you use that outside of Flex. When you're in Flex, you want items center. Yes.
Yeah,
Item center is going to do it vertically, and justify center is going to do left and right. But then when you flip the axis to column, it goes the other way. So it's like you end up on Chris Coyer's Flexbox post on CSS tricks.
Yeah, I always think back to Flexbox Zombies by Dave Geddes. That's another good one.
Yeah, that's another one. And there was a third one with frogs, I think. You had to make frogs go to a pond or something with Flexbox.
Yeah, that one's fun.
All right, so navigation is. Let's do the button so it looks a bit closer. I'm wondering why this button looks blue and stuff. Where do the styles come from?
Yeah, let's.
Because Tailwind definitely is not gonna make your button looks like this.
So we have this hex color. I think we're probably gonna need to customize Tailwind's colors.
Yeah. So what I was saying before is for that we can either let's do that.
Yeah, we don't need to. Yeah, that'd be cool. Not very exciting, but still very useful.
Yeah. Can you just tell me why the login button is it inheriting styles from something else?
Oh, why it looks this way right now?
Yes,
because I added a bunch of classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so let's go in the Tailwind config file. And we can extend the colors object. Look at this. You get a mix of Copilot and TypeScript doing all the things for you.
Yeah.
So you want to probably call it. I don't know if it's a group of colors or just one. I would call it either theme or primary. But then you can have just a string like now for one color, or you could have an object which is primary, light, dark. I don't know. Let's just call it primary now, just to get a new color.
Yeah, maybe if we look at this components, maybe it'll give us a better idea of like what we are dealing with from colors.
Color tiles.
We do have a couple of colors here, but yeah, it doesn't look like they've given us a colors.
Yeah. It looks to me like there's that purple and then that orangey yellow, which is the two main. Oh, what are these little dots?
This is the wireframes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like those orange dots are probably the main colors of the site.
Yeah. So okay. So we could
go with those.
Is that an off-white? This one? No, it's white. We don't need to do.
It's white. Yeah.
So let's do three colors, and up to you if you want to call them action, warning, success, whatever, or like primary, secondary, tertiary.
I think
there's no. Yeah.
I don't know. My impression is this makes sense as a primary, as secondary, and tertiary.
Okay, so in that case, get rid of the object, and it's just gonna be one color, so just a string. So you can copy. Yeah, I love that you have this colorize extension for VS Code.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Okay, and
that's one thing. The VS Code IntelliSense for Tailwind. When you put a color, it puts a little square on the left. But what it does is it shifts all your code by one character and it doesn't appear straight away. So it always kind of throws me off. And I wish it did this, the background like this instead.
Yeah, that would be really nice. That's a feature request for anybody watching.
Brad, if you're listening.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, so now we have our three colors. So something I want to draw your attention to, if you go back to the index file, just adding this color, if you go in any class name attribute and start typing primary, okay, so it gives you that color, but select that, but then just press space and just type the word primary with nothing else. And what I want to show is it generates colors for and that's the power of Tailwind. You added one color in the config. You have like ring utilities, caret, divider, border, stroke, accent color, like all these things that if you think of a design system, it would take so much time to create all these CSS classes to use the design tokens. In Tailwind, you create the tokens and they're available for anything you might need, which is, it's more powerful than you think until you realize the workflow. You just added one color and you have all these tools to build stuff with that color.
Yeah, it really is fantastic. I love it. Okay, so this is interesting. Before, I had a special hover version of
Yes.
my color, and I'd like to do that as well. They haven't given me anything for that,
Yeah.
but I would like either a deeper color or a lighter color when I hover. Does that mean I need to turn primary into an object and have?
Well, it does if you want the full color, but another thing that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, is to some designers hate that, so they're gonna crucify me. But you can change the opacity to 90% on hover. So because it's on a dark background, it's gonna appear a tiny bit darker. So that's yeah, it's gonna work actually.
How do I get this so it see, it's because I have this turned on, it's like mobile, but yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That works fine.
Yeah, but otherwise you would indeed do primary. Then you can choose if you go in like semantic meaning, like primary hover, or you could go like this. Like, I wouldn't go 100 because Tailwind has that scale from 100 to 900 being very
we don't want that many
mentally like light to dark. But you could have primary and then base, or even default. Actually, if you go default in uppercase, it's so what that's gonna do. When you nest colors in an object, it's gonna create this camel case. So if you had primary and then hover, the color would be primary dash hover. But if you have the uppercase default, it's just the primary class. So it's like a naming convention. So if you just say primary, it's gonna be that, and then go either hover or dark. I would go just lighter and darker just to say. Then you know if you want to reach for.
Yeah.
And then. Yeah, figure out something slightly lighter or darker. I think you can have a tooltip.
Let's see what happens. If Copilot, no, come on, Copilot. You know how to make
like
colors
with
darker and lighter.
ChatGPT and Copilot, you could build this whole site to like 70% of the way.
Yeah. Okay, so you said there was a tool that can kind of generate these.
There's
Is that what
there's
you're
a lot
saying?
of. If you go to hue tone, that's just search for hue tone. It's probably gonna come. It's a really really nice tool. Yes, so you can probably paste your color somewhere, and then I don't know how, but there's a lot of tool online that just generates palettes. Like most of them. Like if you speak to Steve Sugar from the Tailwind team, him and Adam will tell you that it's almost impossible to mathematically generate color palettes. You just have to obsess visually. But these have this ACPA, I think it's the APCA, it's the perceive contrast algorithm, and so it's what it does is it tries to make colors that really feel like if you switch from purple to yellow, they'll have the same distance between each, and you can basically. So if you create a new one, I don't know how you create one actually, but if you add the color, the hex color for the primary, it's gonna give you a bunch of others that you can pick from.
Yeah, how do you do that? I don't
look
see
for
anything.
another color generate. But this one, it's really nice. I've done it before.
Here we go. I found. Oh no! What the heck?
You've just done one. Yeah.
I just made. Yeah.
There must be like a generate palette.
Yeah.
The comments is exactly what I was. I forgot I can pull comments in the broadcast. Someone mentioned exactly what I was saying. You can go change the opacity on hover, which kind of does what we've done. But if you want like a real color. Yeah, this one. This one is the other good one.
Okay, I think I would like to like have it be an actual color instead of just changing the opacity, because I also feel kind of like it's cheating.
It is, and sometimes if you have stars or something behind, there's always scenarios where it's gonna just look the effect of the opacity is gonna be different based on the background, and so you have less consistency. All right, so how do we paste?
Exactly. I can generate. Man, why is this? This is a waste of time. What is this?
Generate color.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've used.
Anyone in the
before.
comments have a tip for one? There's like hundreds. When I'm live streaming, I retain about 10% of my critical thinking capacity. So I'm like, help! Someone tell me. I was doing a stream a few weeks ago, and I had a typo in get static props. It was called get static pops, and nothing worked. And I had this because it brought some server code into the front end, and I almost said I'm gonna stop the stream and figure it out. And then I saw everyone in the comments said, "You have a typo."
I've definitely done that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I've used so many of these things.
Yeah.
And every one of them lets you just paste in your own hex code, and now all of a sudden I can't find one.
They all turn the feature off
my
this
gosh.
for us. So a Hail Mary trick you can try is in VS Code. There's a little option key or control. Like if you click on that color with one of the extra keys, one of them opens a color picker. I don't know which one.
I think we need to be in a CSS file. So let's try this. Whoops. Sure,
right,
whatever.
It works.
Coloro. And I copied that from another thing. There we go. Okay. So there's where is that? I've seen that before too. What a joke. Okay, fine. What we're going to do instead is in here, we'll use, where is my,
why don't we
color?
do it but I was going to say in Figma, you have to do a new project because you can't edit the one, but you could do a color with that and then with the tooltip. Look at us, two seasoned engineers trying to figure out how to generate.
Yeah, what is this? Where the heck is my color? There it is. Okay, I just wanted this thing. What?
Because it's
good
a
grief.
CSS variable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. We're gonna do this. We'll say color that. There we go. Now I get this.
Yes.
This whole time just figuring out where can I get this stupid thing. Yeah.
We did it.
Oh gosh. Okay. Or you know what? An even better idea. Here, let's do this instead. I've got this cool
CSS
tool called
color functions.
I have this cool tool called SIP that allows me to hover over.
Yeah, look at it. Our brains are coming back now suddenly.
Yeah.
After,
So what we're gonna do, is we will say opacity 90 because I do like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And then we'll use SIP to get what that color is.
So can I just say one thing about this?
Yeah.
Do the color first. When you go opacity 90, you change the opacity of the whole element. So what you really want is BG opacity, so the text remains fully.
Yeah. That does help a lot because I've always just done opacity on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where'd that go? Yeah, there it is. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
BG dash opacity.
Oh, dash. Yeah. Yep. That makes sense.
And see how the class sorting yanked it right at the start? When it does that, it's like, this is not I don't know this, it's probably not Tailwind. So if you see something jump to the front, it's a good sign that it's probably not a correct class. Yeah. And if you hover over that class, that's really interesting. There is no such thing as background opacity in CSS. So if you hover on the BG primary class just next to it in VS Code, you'll see that the way it builds it is it sets a opacity variable to 1 and then sets the background color. And when you change BG opacity, the color doesn't change, but the CSS variable for the opacity goes down to 0.9. And that's how, if you think about it, you cannot say in CSS, you can't say background opacity. It's not a thing. But by composing the color with the RGB alpha channel with this opacity variable, you're able to see how it's like 106.68.255/, and then the last thing is the alpha channel, which is the transparency. So Tailwind is stacked with really smart CSS variable composition like this.
That is so smart. Cool. Okay, so I got the darker. I'm not sure how to get the lighter because I can't make it like more opacity. So what we're going to do for that is we'll go with the color picker thing that we were going to do before. Here, we'll do this one. And then we'll just brighten it up a bit. Just drag it over a little bit more like that. Sure. We'll go with that. We can adjust it later.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then, let's get rid of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Then
so
we can
BG
take a look
primary is your
at.
default, yeah. And then on hover, you can get rid of that, or yeah. So now if you have primary, you should have dash. Did it work? Yeah, it did work. Nice.
Dun, 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 dun.
So because
we
it's
can go
default in
darker.
uppercase, because it's default in uppercase, it just tells the name of the class should be just the parent, the key object,
Mhm.
object key. But if it was default lowercase, it would go primary dash default. So
Yeah, that's
if
very
you want, yeah,
handy.
that's a convention that's pretty cool.
I
I
like
love how we had all these intentions of going through 6 or 7 really complex pieces of UI, and we're still in the navigation trying to.
Yeah,
that's,
sorry.
That's live streaming. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think there's value in this as well, and I have no hard stop, and I'm also happy to jump on a SQL stream whenever, or
Okay, cool.
help you build that thing and do content around it. Okay, so we have a header with the. So the question is, do you want to? Someone in the comments, multiple people say you can actually export stuff even if you have the preview access in Figma. So maybe we can try export the logo as an SVG, not the button, but
this one.
yeah, maybe the 3 things together because it's a custom font. And
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if
So
that's gonna be the next stuff where we
Yeah.
get stuff.
I did just ask Vojta if I could get
Oh, you have it here.
more access.
So if you keep that
But,
selected and then go to the export tab on that,
Export's disabled.
yeah, okay.
All
right.
I should
So-
have thought about
Yeah, no,
this
that's okay.
earlier.
So let's style instead the button on the right, because right now it has the right color. But so if I can boss you around a bit, what I would like you to do is double click on the login text in Figma to make a square around, and then move the mouse toward. Yes, stop. So if you stop there, it says 14 top bottom, which is 3.5 in my Tailwind brain, and it's what was it 40 on the left and right?
And 40. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I like about Tailwind is like it happens that this design kind of falls into this. It's a fairly common 8-pixel spacing scale. So if we go padding top bottom with PY 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of some of this stuff that.
Oh
is
yeah,
no
I
longer
forgot you
needed.
have
Okay. Okay, so PY will be. You said 3.5. Is that a thing?
And look,
Oh my gosh,
it's
it is.
14. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then PX is 10.
Yeah, so 40.
Beautiful.
So now we have the padding correct. We probably might not have the. And then the next thing you can do is add rounded full instead of rounded MD, because it's like a it's gonna underline it in because you need to remove the other one.
Beautiful.
And if you want to really be precise, the next thing you do in Figma is you check again on the text, you might need to bring the panels back. You check the font weight and line height and all that stuff. So it's 14, 14 pixel, the font size. So that's text SM. And the weight is 700. See that? And the weight is font dash bold, I think, is 700.
Yep. Man, you know your Tailwind.
Don't even have a cheat sheet open. So now the button should look like and we even have the line
Very,
height.
very similar.
Line height was 20, and if you hover in the code, if you hover on text SM, not only does it set the font size, but it also sets the default line height to 20. So we like smack
Beautiful.
bang. If we
It's almost
ignore
like
the fact, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we ignore. I think we don't have the custom font, which is, I don't even know what. Oh, Nunito Sans. I think it's a Google
I'll
thing.
have to grab that at some point.
Yeah, that's all right. But I like that we show a bunch of prototyping, but also like if you want to go precise, we just did it with the button. Not that you can ship that button. I mean, there's more to it, but it looks like the design. We've put the right color, and then we use the built-in spacing and radius and line height and all the stuff, so it's exactly like the design wants. And if you apply this process we've just done, you inspect stuff in Figma, you look at the values in the panel, and you go find the matching tokens in Tailwind, you can basically build everything pixel perfect. If there's not a value, you add it to the config.
Yeah, there's got to be a plugin for Figma that like will give you Tailwind classes instead. If there's not, like, that's like seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, so Tailwind has a community file which is all the colors and shadows and spacing and stuff, and then the designers, when they build stuff, they pick from that predefined set of options. So if the designer uses that, so when I was working at Tailwind Labs, Steve would use all of that. So everything always hits perfectly a Tailwind value. So it's like a joy to work with. But most designers will use a 8 pixel spacing scale. So almost any design I build, I've done one last week, and everything was a 8 pixel scale. So everything would fall smack bang on a Tailwind value. So it's really nice. But it's a good place to mention that you, at the start of a project, you look at your colors and fonts and stuff that you need. And that's what I love about Tailwind is you think of the design at the start, not like as it comes, oh yeah, let's do, you map your tokens in the config file like we've just done. And then you just like, it's not a CSS framework, it's a bespoke CSS framework generated for your project. You pass stuff to the config, and then you can name stuff like you want. Now we have this primary, like we have these classes that make sense for this project with like such minimal work. You generate your own toolkit, and that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
So we have a navigation. What does it look? We haven't looked. Oh yeah, that's the browser. I was like, I thought I love when that starts to happen. I thought that was the Figma. When you design stuff, you get to a point where you get confused if you're looking at Figma and the browser, and that's usually a good place.
Yeah.
So what's coming next? We have
Should we do this little subtitle here?
Yeah. So in my head, the rent a space would be the H1 tag, and the stuff on top is just a paragraph tag. Like it's kind of like an eyebrow. Some people might say it's part of the H1 for screen readers. So I don't. Yeah. Then you would have it in the. Yeah. Just go P. And then H1. Yeah. And I really like this approach of thinking of the HTML first. We'll do the form after, but
yeah.
So if you save that, you're probably not gonna see any text.
Yeah, because it's black.
Yes.
Yeah. So we could, I suppose.
That's
I wish I didn't need.
That's one place for the P tag where I would go white with a bit of transparency, because you're trying to achieve this. Like it's almost not a color; it's like a subtle.
Transparent.
So let me show you the
open.
shorthand. Instead of, no, again, you would do the whole, so go text white, and then you could go, don't do it, but you could go text opacity, whatever. I think it's text opacity, yeah. But instead of doing that, we can use the shorthand. So in your text white class, you can add a slash, and look at this.
Whoa.
So 90 is probably good. Yeah, it's not new anymore, but it's like more recent than most Tailwind classes. It's like this shorthand syntax for opacity modifiers.
Yeah, I think maybe that looks more like a 70 to me.
Yeah. And it'll be more visible if you put text white on the H1, so we see them side by side.
Yeah, that's sure. Oops.
Bang.
Yeah. Beauty.
Not bad. All right, so next I would put text center on the wrapping div, because they both, again, this is one place where I'm happy with like inheriting some styles, because it's just everything in that section.
Yeah,
look at this.
Totally.
And
we need a bit of space between these two.
Yeah, so do the cool thing where I would here hover on in Figma, I would select little P tag thing, and then check how much from if you get it relative to, if you go near the login button, you might see the vertical space. So you have this selected.
Sorry, I'm
Oh, the
having a
box-
hard time getting the.
Yeah,
Come on, choose that thing. How do I select that thing?
I'm trying to click on it.
Yeah, let me choose the thing I want. There it is. Okay. Yeah,
But-
there we go.
Yeah, but don't go from
So
the
it's-
top. Go from the logo under the nav bar, cause to the right or the
Yeah,
that's
188.
180. Okay, my brain doesn't work that I don't go up in that scale.
So like 47.
Yeah, so there's probably 46 or 48 in Tailwind.
Yeah, that's close
And again,
enough
if
for
the
me.
designer said no, I chose 188 because of scale hierarchy reasons, then you add it to the config. But my 90% gut feel is they eyeballed it, just like it didn't matter that much for this specific part. So yeah,
Oh, 46 is not a thing.
yeah, you got 44, 48.
Okay. Oh, whoops, backwards. I like
Nice.
44.
And the next thing. I
So
would
actually,
naturally-
quick question.
Yes.
So
please stop me, 'cause-
I know that there's been there are differing opinions on whether you should use margin for spacing like this.
Yes.
Like sometimes people would prefer a spacer, and I've made a spacer component
GIF.
that has like
Yeah.
size, whatever.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
I actually like the spacer approach. I've used it quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I do that a
use
lot too.
margins. What my approach, it's to always only do margin top for. I've seen a lot of people say just do margin bottom, but what I don't like is when you do margin bottom, you need to think of the next element and where it should sit, and then some context of the next element lives in the previous one. So if you do margin top, it's like I am the thing that comes to the screen now. I know I want this space, so margin top is like bring your own spacing part of what you want to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if our text was like a component that you don't want to bake in a margin in because it depends, it's outside of this like encapsulated component, that's where having no margin on anything and then having spacers, it totally makes sense. I would use it. People cringe, especially when you call them spacer GIF or some sort of like fun hint at some patterns that were concerned a bit bad at some points in time. It's great. A spacer component makes total sense.
Yeah, I think we'll probably build that eventually, but I like your pseudo rule that like if this is being rendered in the context of the rest of the stuff that is like we're concerned about, then it makes a lot of sense to just use margin. But if
you
this
stick
is
to
like
top
within a
and
component
left-
by itself.
Oh, when I say left, it's really like I forgot how it's called when it's like right to left. It's like
yeah,
inline
because we do
start,
need to.
inline, yeah.
Yeah. We do need to think about that because this app will be translated to left to right languages. So.
But
Or right to
conceptually,
left.
I like to when I bring the next thing on screen, it's like it should know how much to go away from the rest of the site. I've built it. It seems like not a big deal to everything. Imagine bottom is the same mindset, but then you look at something and you're like, oh, I need to change the spacing, and it might be in a different component. You need to go somewhere else to like you have this dependency of two different things when you don't need to.
Yeah. So I just moved the margin to
Yes.
the main. That seems to make more sense to me.
Yeah. So
as well.
I don't know if it's been published, officially launched, but I know Adam Warden was working on like a series of tips and rules, like best practice when you write with Tailwind. It's recommendation to be consistent, and one of them was if there's external spacing, always put it on the parentmost element where it makes sense. Because then your brain just like looks at blocks and it sees, okay, this thing starts with some spacing. Because you could have it on the P tag, like some people would put it on the P tag, but then you like when you go with DevTools, it's a bit harder to find it. You have to, So your instinct was what Adam recommends, which is probably a good idea.
Oh, that's good. Cool. Okay, so then we want to look at if we wanted to do pixel perfect, we look at the text size and all of that. I think I would like
how close. Yep.
So this one, I guess, is just default text size.
It's too small on my screen. Is it 16?
It doesn't say, so I'm guessing it's.
If you scroll further down, you should have font
size.
Right.
I'm still selected on the rectangle because, boo. Here we go. Where are we? right here. There we go. Good grief. Sorry, I don't use Figma very much.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so the text size for our Explore the Universe is, where is it? Font size, 24.
I'm hiding our faces overlay for a second. So
Yeah, good call. So yeah, so it's 24 for the Explore the Universe, and then for the main thing it is 80, and then we have a weight of 600 on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I do one by one, and I do size, weight, and line height. Then you don't forget anything.
Yeah, that's a good call. Let's do that.
Most people would do
Okay.
size and weight, but then line height is the thing that takes it to the next level.
No.
The sizes are text dash.
Oh, font normal, yeah. Okay, yeah, text dash. We've got, it's not small, is it? Yeah, 2XL. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, my 4 times tables isn't quite where it is for you. So.
It's ramping up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you hover on that text to Excel you just wrote, it's gonna bake in some sensible defaults. But you can, if the design says no, I want a line height of 1, or you can pass it like explicitly and override it.
Yeah, we've got a 32 on this one, and so that is that's perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and then
Good
for
designers
our
thinking alike.
yeah, maybe they have designed for Tailwind before.
Possible, yeah.
It's probably becoming more common. So if I do, we're at 80. So this would be 10XL. Is that a thing?
No, it's not. But I think
No.
you can add it. I think it stops. Just go control. I say just a lot. I don't mean to be. It sounds a bit. What's the word? Condescending. But yeah. Was it 80? So yeah, that's a case where there's a gap. So you could arguably add 7.5 XL in the scale, or you could talk to the designer and say, "Oh no, use 87." So I think just to show the audience, maybe let's add 7.5.
Yeah.
So again, in the extend object, I'll shut up and you figure it out.
Yeah. So this is I assumed that it would be text because that's the prefix that we use for the size, but I don't see anything here about the size.
In classes, but in CSS, how would you call? What are we changing?
I'd say the font size.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And
so
then
it's important to know we in the extend parent object, so we're extending the existing scale. If you had the same font size key in the theme directly, you would just wipe out all the other values and just add one.
Okay. Now, because font size configures more than just the fonts. Oh, no, it does. It does. Okay, so text configures more than just the font size. It also configures the line height. So do I need to have like a line height here also?
No, if you go in the, that's where even I would go to the Tailwind CSS docs and look for the font size, because there is an array syntax but you can pass a lot of things. You can pass default font weight, letter spacing, a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, so if we go font size, and then
somewhere near the bottom.
Here.
Yeah, there you go. Look at this.
Got it. Okay, very cool. Okay, so then I say we want 7.5 XL, and then we do an array.
It's an array with the value, and then an options object for. That's it. Is
okay,
5
cool.
rem what
So
you want? Yeah, 5 times
no,
4.
I don't know.
No.
Is that right? What is the rem multiple?
16.
Okay, so we got 80 divided by 16 is 5. Yeah, thanks, Copilot.
It knows. It listens to. It knows what we want to do next. Yep.
Yeah. So then we can configure these 3. We have line height. What we have here is 84. So that's 5.25 rem. And then letter spacing, I don't think that's in here. So we will just not configure that, I guess, and see what happens. And
Letter
then our
spacing
font.
is like Steve Sugar, for example, does it a lot, and he always told me it makes such a big impact, and most people miss it or don't know why it looks so good, but it's letter spacing. But it's quite. I haven't seen many other designers use that when I get Figma comps to build.
Okay, cool. Well, that looks like it could be the right size. It'll look cooler when we have, or more pixel perfect when we have the right font.
Yeah.
But then we need to give a max width.
You set defaults there in the config, but you can still, on a per case basis, you can change the line height or font size easily because it will override the default. Tailwind, there's
really
always
cool.
that thinking of the least specific, like what makes sense to override what. And so it always, the way the CSS file is generated, because that's what the cascade is actually like the source order that kind of, the styles get overridden if they have the same specificity, if they're lower. So Tailwind will generate styles in a way that almost always is beneficial to when you want to do a tweak at the element level. So now by default you have all that, but if you wanted to change the letter spacing, you could add a letter spacing class and it would take over. It's tracking. That's the one weird thing I never know, and I think it's because tracking is the actual print design term for letter spacing. I think. But
that actually makes it look a lot better. I like having tracking white on that.
Sorry, Steve, I revealed the secret now.
Yeah. Okay, but then our div needs to have a max width.
Max W. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe so medium. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah. It's not as wide as the rest of the page container.
Yeah, but it's still.
I've lost it in the comments, but someone said, why not have the max width container 7XL we did? Why not have the whole page like this? And the reason is we want to break out of it. There's multiple elements that go full width with the scrollable cards. So if you lock yourself in that, then you have a hard time breaking out of it. So you kind of bring back the new sticker and these cards. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So we need, this is almost there, maybe 3XL. There we go. That looks good. And then this is just another margin auto, I'm guessing, right?
Look at you.
Beautiful.
I can walk away and you can finish the project.
Well, we haven't gotten to the really hard stuff. We should probably skip to the hard stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea actually I think you've got the tools to kind of continue doing like most of the layout stuff like this, but we could look at either the form or the new sticker or one of these like tricky one.
Yeah, let's try this tricky one right here. I think this would be trickier.
Yeah. All right. So just I gotta stop saying just do a I just just stop. Let's create a new make a div with a lot of margin top. Yeah, you're thinking what I'm thinking. Just like
just give it some space. I just said just.
Sorry, it's contagious.
I'm doing it to myself.
64 sounds
okay.
Good. Oh my God. Output print on echo on the screen. Just a paragraph, a little paragraph, just to see how much. I cannot stop. To see how much spacing we have. A bit of text in it, just so we saw. Oh my God, what's another word for just? Simply, no, that's the same. A friend of mine at ThinkMill has a banned keyword stuff in his settings in Apple. So if he types just or simply, when you do tutorials, just install that in npx and making assumptions. My64 is good. Okay, so we have a bunch of space. So if we look at Figma, I like to think, when I do my Pro Tailwind workshops, I always tell people to think in rectangles, and looking at Figma is the best place to do it. Before building anything, I'm like, what are we building? Like, forget the rotation and all this. It looks like we have an element with a bordered top and a bordered bottom, and then some text in it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of the p tag, maybe you can turn that into a div. And let's, that's a good idea. Border top. My sense of smell makes me think it's 2. Yeah, border B2, border T2. So if you look at what you have now, it should make them gray 300, which is the default gray color. All right. So we can have a quick win here by making the border top. So you can go border -T again, and then border -T, and then add a color. I would go with try pink 500. And this is where you would go and add, and the border -B is our primary color, I guess, or purple.
Yeah, probably.
I guess the pink is another of the. Look at this, practically.
Yeah.
All right, so there was actually a marquee tag in HTML that did the thing spin by itself, but it's not. It's deprecated.
Yeah.
Why? I've looked. Yeah, when I had to build a feature like this recently, actually, if you go to thinkmill.com.au, I gotta give them a shout out. If you go to the About Us page, oh no, in the hamburger, so it's kind of like these photos. These photos are scrolling indefinitely, and it's a different problem, but it's the very same problem space where you're like, how do I make something loop infinitely and like without like a jump when it finished looping? So I had to think of this problem space recently, so I think that's going to help us. I've looked at lots of different approaches. The one I like the most is to, well, I'll walk you through it and then it'll make sense. We can have a flex parent, and then inside of it a bunch of paragraphs that says whatever we want, like coming in. So the parent is class name flex. And then.
And do we do a UL? Like, would that make
that's
sense
a good idea
for this?
Yeah, it does actually. An ordered list, and then in here.
I should have a extension in VS Code for lorem ipsum.
If you type lorem tab, I might surprise you. Right? Oh, you don't have it. I don't think I have one, and it does it. If I type lorem tab, it's just.
Yeah, maybe it's this one. So they're gonna. Yeah, that looks exactly like what I want.
I am not the only. Carl Weiss is saying let's instead of just like they also struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, I think I got a different one from you.
What was that? Sorry.
Sweet. I think I've got a different extension from the one that you have because I won't. So mine won't let me do that.
The whole idea is to have enough of these that it uses the full width. It doesn't matter if there's too many. I mean, it does if you have 6 million, but I'd duplicate this like 6-7 times. Although yours are pretty long, so 4 or 5 is probably fine.
Yeah. These are probably longer than the actual content anyway.
Yeah, you want it to be longer. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know what you mean. You want them to look like the design, which is like a 6-7 word sentence.
Handful of words, yeah.
Yeah,
so
maybe
cut that off. Yeah, there we go.
Right. So the next thing I would do in the flex parent is make them the UL should be flex.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
There you go. And now
probably gonna need to get rid of that padding for the UL, right?
No, Tailwind resets. There should be none.
I wonder
what's the space though.
Yeah.
There's no.
Gap. It's just the
line wrap. Yeah. Okay, so what we want to do is on each li, you can do multi-cursor magic. We're gonna add shrink 0 And what it tells is like never shrink, no matter what happens. Just be strong and use all the space you're allowed, and tell the others just to don't let them squeeze.
Get
you,
out of the way.
Flexbox tends to, if one has more space, real estate, they're just gonna push everything off. So if you go shrink 0, it says like I never shrink. On the UL, you can add a little gap. So we'll see maybe gap 8 or something like this. So we see the, And while you not on the UL, but probably on the div above that has the border, I would add PY level 4 or something like this. So we have some nice spacing with the borders. It's probably a bit too much. Yeah, maybe 2.
That's too much.
But you get the prototyping vibe to it. Yeah, okay. So this is not gonna take us to the promised land, but let's have some fun with it. We need to create a CSS keyframe animation that basically takes the text from where it is and slides it to the left 100%-ish over a long time, so it doesn't go too fast. So we can go in the config file, in Tailwind config. One of the things you can extend in the theme is called keyframes. And that's it's not the magic to Tailwind. This is CSS. Yeah, keyframe animations. You can give it a name, so we can call it marquee or ticker or whatever you want.
Is that how you spell marquee? I think that's how you spell marquee.
That is, I think. All right, so we can have keyframe percentages from 0 to 100, or you can go from to. So here we can go, the next key can go from. Yeah. Oh, hello, Doug. And we want to go from that, but 0. We want to start where it is. So accept this, but go 0. You can even remove the percent sign, I think.
And then it's to
I don't know if it's going to work like this. Because normally from is an object. Yeah, so that's where Copilot sets you up for like, what have I done? So you need to wrap this in curlies. Yeah. Inside there's the key value pair.
I see.
Because it's a CSS in JS object, basically. And you need to put in strings. What is the problem now?
Oh, whoops.
It's not happy. The syntax is not looking right. Oh, did you? It's even higher. Like, I don't know why maybe it's your color theme. I'm used to like very different colors. Okay, that if you did prettier formatted when you saved.
Yeah, I did.
That's how I check if my code is valid. I just mess
I do the exact same thing. I'm 100%. Yeah, that's what I do.
All right. So now we have keyframes, and we need to create an animation that consumes that keyframe. So another key is animation. Again, my God, that. Exactly that. So if we slow down Copilot, what we've done is it could have a different name. We call them both marquee, which makes sense. But the animation could be called whatever. But it consumes the marquee keyframe. Yeah. And then over 10 seconds, perfect highlighting. Thank you. It's in a linear way, which means like it doesn't ease a start, slow down like a car. It just goes linear, which is exactly what we want. And then infinite means it loops infinitely. So we created keyframe animation and then an animation. So now Tailwind has an animate dash marquee because you called it marquee. So if you add that to the probably the UL.
Yeah, it's got to be the parent, or the child.
The child, yeah.
And I think we want it to go the other way.
It is broken. It's meant to be broken, and we're gonna improve it. So the first thing, probably.
Do we want it to go the
100?
opposite direction?
I like how we're thinking the same way.
Yeah, and then we also probably want it to. It's going too fast, and then we'll want to think about this when we switch to left to right. So I'll want to support both a marquee and a minus marquee, right?
Yes, because the two has to be different. Yeah. So marquee reverse or marquee RTL or something. Yeah.
So it'd be like minus marquee.
Well, no, you need to change the keyframe because the 2 is the transform is where you're gonna. So you might have to do a different marquee reverse or
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can
makes
copy that
sense.
whole thing and flip the minus.
So like that.
Yeah, just the dash marquee, like because it's animate dash, maybe it's gonna be
Yeah,
animate
might
dash
be kind
dash
of
marquee.
funny.
It feels a bit weird. Maybe
Yeah.
call it marquee reverse or marquee in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
this. I would
that's
do it
fine.
like this.
Yeah. So then when I'm RTL or LTR, I can't remember. It'd be, and then I've got them both. Yep. Sweet.
Yeah. And
Fancy.
I haven't had the chance to build internationalized sites that need to use, but I think Tailwind has an RTL. It's not a class prefix, but it's something you put on the parent element somewhere, and then everything kind of flips. I don't know. I don't exactly know how it works, but you will be able to handle that. Let's not dive in it now, but
Yeah.
all right. So if we look at our animation, what happens? Maybe speed it up a bit just while we debugging or building it.
Sure.
10 seconds. So what happens is at the end, because it's over 10 seconds. If you look towards the end, we're gonna have some blank space because the whole thing comes to the end and there's nothing left. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one solution would be to add a million things, but then a better approach. It feels counterproductive, but a better approach is to actually duplicate the entire UL element, like you can, and this would be a component probably, and just add it one more time after. And on this UL, I would add aria hidden equals true, so it's the screen readers don't. So what we've done is basically tagged two of them with the same. So we're not there yet, but it's if you save now, it's gonna be. Oh, okay. So see, because the two ULs are within top to bottom, the parent of them, which is the if you scroll up before the first UL, the wrapper here, can be also a flex parent with a gap.
8.
Yeah. Okay, this is good. Okay. I know. Can you figure out what happens? My brain understood. Remember what I said before about standing strong and claiming your own space in Flexbox.
Yeah. So these are saying, I actually don't know. So I guess this, I don't know why, but I think the solution is to say shrink 0 on both of these.
Let's see.
Yeah, but I don't know why. So why did these shrink?
Flex was trying to push things against each other, and when you say shrink 0 to the whole UL, it's like no, I'm this long, and no one's ever gonna come in my space. I'm pushing stuff away. I think min width, like there's other tricks, but shrink 0 makes sense. It's like just be assertive and claim your own space. No one comes in it. So see how it does a little jump now. We're very close, but it does a little jump. Again, do you want to try figure out why? And otherwise, I'm happy to tell you why. Because I got stuck on that bit for a bit.
Yeah. I have no idea. No. Yeah. I don't know why.
All right. So the jump is pretty much exactly the same space as the gap. And the reason is we translate by 100%, but then there's that gap between the two ULs that adds. So in the keyframe animation, we need to factor in that gap.
What if we add the gap space as like margin? So it's this gap is what we're talking about, right? This one between the two ULs.
Adds a little gap between the two.
So what if I added a margin to the UL instead?
Yeah, you can try that. That's a good idea, actually.
Let's see. So margin left. I hope I'm not the only one who accidentally hits the equal sign instead of the minus sign.
Oh, you know.
I do that all the time.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Gotta wait 10 seconds without
Yeah,
being, oh,
we got to jump. Yeah,
yeah,
it jumped for me.
yeah.
So, okay, let's put it back
Yeah,
because
because
I don't
I
want to do
think
margin.
the margin still adds, um,
What if we did padding?
that's the other thing I would try. And if it doesn't work, I have a
And actually, you know what? I think I had my margin wrong because it was at the front of the class name. But
No,
let's see what
margin
padding
is
is.
one of these that is in the order of
It
everything,
worked.
margin comes first because it's like the first thing you want to know about a there's that like outside in approach. Like the text color doesn't really matter, but so the Tailwind is gonna try to put the more like earth shattering classes like flex, grids, margins at the start. So I think it was right. Is it still
Yeah, I
jump?
don't see a jump. No, it looks like the padding is what did it. Because the padding is like technically part of the element, I guess.
Yeah. If it works, that's a nicer. The way I did it in the ThinkMill site I showed you before is instead of translate x 100%, I did a calc that kind of does 100% minus the gap.
Oh, yeah.
And you can grab theme values inside there. So I just didn't put a magic value. I just put theme.padding.8 or something like this. But that seems to work. So we need to do two more things. We need to rotate it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So Tailwind has like rotate utilities. It looks to me like it's 6 or 9. I don't know. So see and again, you can pass any value. So it's going to be to do negative. Yep. That looks about right. I mean, it's way too fast because we're debugging with the...
Yeah, I think it might be too much. Is there a 4? No,
there is not, but you can use arbitrary values here if 3 is too little.
Okay. Yeah, I think 3 is probably too little. Do we do like a
deg?
4 deg?
Yeah, that's gonna go minus 4 deg.
Oh.
What happened?
We do. Yeah, that looks okay.
Yeah, and if you hover over that, I like that you write an arbitrary value and you can see the generated CSS by hovering. It tells you, hey, you've done, and see again, the composition of this transform. You can now in CSS start to compose transforms, but before, if you wanted to change or translate, you had to redefine all the other values. And by composing CSS variables like this, you can change just one and it's like a more powerful approach than doing it with the real values, which is pretty cool. I see one last thing.
Amazing.
If you squint really hard and you look at the bottom on the left of the screen, because we've rotated it, there's a little bit of black. It's not.
Oh yeah, I see that.
That's the final. So this is tricky actually. Oh, I hope it doesn't mess up the
our animation
and the jump, but I would just add negative margin minus mx, so it's left and right, and 2, 4, 1 might be enough. I don't know. So what it does is it kind of makes it just a little bit wider so it's out of screen. But I think if you try scroll horizontally, we broke the whole website, which is a thing that happens a lot. Maybe not in
Well,
so that's the one thing
when we have
exactly, we have that list of repeating stuff. The last thing we need to do is in not the UL, in the div, I think that has the color borders. I think you need to add overflow x auto. And this is going to say, oh no, overflow hidden. Sorry, we don't want a scroll bar. This is even worse. Overflow hidden.
Whee!
Overflow hidden will say, no X, just overflow all of it. Although I think overflow X is a thing.
Yeah, it works. That's specifically what we're trying to overflow anyway. So
I think that section, if you add the little emoji, what makes it really shine is the gradient SVG icons, but I guess that would be like little assets.
Yeah, I still got to get those.
And then with the right
Yeah.
font weight and stuff, it might look pretty good.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Well, that's pretty cool. And then here, we'll slow it down so it's not so
It's a bit intense.
terrible. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we haven't done this here, but you could go to town by defining the duration as a CSS variable, and then you would have a class that sets the duration and a class that sets the, like, you could custom, like, make it more like playful by saying, hey,
I would like
decide-
it if you hover over it, then
and
it speeds up.
stops. Oh, it speeds up, yeah.
Yeah, like, so what, or yeah, maybe stop, because like my website does the same thing where we've got this slow rotation and you hover over it, it goes the opposite way a little faster. And then when you press and hold, it just goes crazy, super fast.
Yeah.
I
have no idea if that would work, but top of my head, I thought you would have, you could change the animation speed to override it on hover. Let's try in the HTML directly. Let's see if we can do this. So we've done arbitrary values. Now we're gonna try an arbitrary property. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
sure.
First go hover column for the prefix. And then we're not gonna just put the value, but we're gonna, in brackets, we're gonna have the key and value. So animation speed. I need to look it up quickly.
I can't remember what that property is called. Here, let's see.
Animation duration.
Duration. Yeah, that's what it is.
So go animation duration. And column, you can write any like this is another crazy stuff, is you can write any CSS inline, and you can even reach for the theme tokens, the JavaScript tokens in your HTML, in your CSS. It's crazy. The only thing you can't have is spaces, because the browser sees a space, it's the end of the class. It looks at the next one.
Yeah.
So what you've done should work. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's interesting. We need to do a group, because I'm hovering over one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you
Okay.
know that. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll
I don't
let
know how to do it though.
Yeah, I'll be
It's
silent
like-
and you'll do it. Mm-hmm.
Group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Is it just group?
Mm-hmm.
Group hover.
Mm-mm.
No.
Now, just group here. Group is not actually...
Just group. That's it.
Yeah. If you save that, if you hover over group, it doesn't output any CSS. It's literally like a compose selector. It's just like a flag, and then see, it went to the start and it doesn't generate any CSS. But then when you go group dash hover, it's like, oh, you're hovering the thing that has a class of group. So
it's interesting though. It gets this little jump, but it
so
does speed up.
What happens is it catches up at the animation frame. It is from 0 to 100%. And then when you hover, it's like it changed it, so it's ahead of time a bit. So it's probably more complicated.
Yeah. That's
But
probably...
that was a good idea in concept. I thought it might work. But we still demonstrated arbitrary properties and group hover, which is nice.
And group hover. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. That's not important enough to do it properly. I think the solution is probably going to involve GreenSock or something.
Yeah, so it kind of changes the speed. It's like HMR, almost like it remembers the state of the animation instead of starting. Yeah, because when you change the duration, it's like, oh, from the start you wanted 10 seconds, so I'm way ahead, and so there's the jump.
Yep. Okay, cool. Well, I think I feel pretty good about that. I just, once we get those logos, then I think that'll look a lot better.
Yeah, the icons it'll just add a bit of vertical oomph, just a bit more presence, and with the right font and stuff, it'll look. Again, with Tailwind, there is never a limitation, like unless you don't want to touch the config file. Technically, there's 100% of what CSS can do, you can do in Tailwind as well. So it's not like you've just seen we've done the animation speed. Like you can even escape out of Tailwind and do CSS directly. You could also write that in CSS normally. Like you don't have to do all in HTML. But when you're in this prototyping mode and component, if you have a component that's in one place, there's something nice. People fell in love with React because you could reason about the markup and the logic all in one place, and then CSS and JS brought the styles, and Tailwind has that thing where everything's collocated. So, but it's up to you if you want to just throw some values that kind of fit in the default scale, or if you want to inspect stuff and then go like crazy fine tuning. And that's how you achieve like not almost any design that you want by taking the time to add values if it makes sense, or add arbitrary values or properties if it makes sense. My recommendation and my lifestyle with Tailwind is to do everything. I almost never write custom CSS. I don't often add values to the config file because especially spacing, there's so much fine tuning already. But I tend to advise against too early. Let's write a CSS class we can apply. Like just make abstractions too early. I like just having some crazy little bits like the rotate 4 degrees I see at the top of your screen. It's fine. I don't feel there might be absolutely zero other things in your project that needs 4-degree rotation. So if you added a design token for it, it's noise more than helpful, because you're like, oh, that value is just a one-off, and I use it once. But now it's like in the playbook, like the rules of your design system, you've added that weird value. So passing it as an arbitrary value almost makes more sense, because it's intentionally breaking out of the rails of like, how is it called? Constraint-based design, where you have only a subset of choices. Like, no, I'm communicating here that I want a special value. It makes more sense. I like that more than like a value that kind of blends into design system value, but it's not really one.
Yeah, I am 100% with you. It's very similar to functions versus just inlining the code. Like, do you break out every single little line of code that you're doing into an individual function? Of course not. Like, you're not going to reuse that function anywhere. So yeah, I definitely prefer doing something like this myself.
Yeah, and it's closer to prototyping, and then up to you to like, do I want to clean some things up, or maybe consolidate in the components, or if you were to ship that to production, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. It's CSS at the end of the day.
And it's great.
You're not adding bloat or security issues, or it's. I love that the prototyping and the production code can be exactly the same if you if you and your team kind of vibe with the approach. That's one of the
So
power.
I've got a quick question on here.
Please.
I don't understand at all how this solved our problem of the jumping. So because when this one gets off screen, because this is it's been pushed off, where does it go?
Okay, so I got stuck in the exact same spot. So let's one thing I suggest is the first UL, add a BG red 100 or something. You add a background color, and we might want to speed up the animation again.
Yeah.
So, this looks gorgeous. But the idea is like you will see where the first UL stops. Okay, so, and that helped me. Like when I saw the jump, I was waiting for it to hit just the edge. See how now it exactly, and now if you remove the margin left and go back with the gap, that's what helped me figure out that the gap was. So if you remove the padding and add the gap back to the div, that's how I had it initially. And then someone said, looks great, but the images just jump subtly after 40 seconds. So now what you'll see is it'll do the jump just.
Oh.
No, it did not. Maybe you have to refresh the page.
Huh.
Let's see.
I think I understand why the jump happens though. Well, it's hard to tell because it like flashes into pink, but once we get to the end of this, then the animation starts again for
we
this
have
one.
this linear speed, and then it's infinite. So as soon as it hits the 100% keyframe, the last one, boop, it starts at 0 without any change of speed. Or
Yeah,
but it
that makes sense.
looks
And so what's happening is this one is doing the exact same animation, just like pushed over, and it's off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
the only
makes
role
sense.
of that one is to fill the last bit of the animation, so you don't have a blank gap space.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. So if we switch this to hidden, then we will see that blank space
Oh, I don't
right
think
here. And so
hidden,
the old
you gotta go
right,
this.
that's,
Yes, add the class of hidden. Yeah.
Oh, and then
It's fighting with
good
flex,
grief.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there we go. But yeah, so because
And now you'll see as
the-
soon as it hits the end, it'll start again. But we use the other one as a filler while it's like out of frame.
yeah, okay, that makes tons of sense. Yep.
And you can
helps a
argue, oh, you have like all these HTML elements for nothing, but the ARIA hidden true tells screen readers, hey, skip that. This is purely decorative.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would probably, you know that better than me, like this is the same markup twice, so you would have a little component called like this sticker thing would be like a component that has children as props and whatever. Like you'd pass an array of data, and then you would just replicate the same thing twice with the hidden on the second one. So it's not really a maintenance issue. Like we have done it all in line here, so it's kind of...
Yeah,
but it's very important that it has the exact same content. Because if you were to delete, if you deleted one of the li items, the width of both would be different. So I'm pretty sure there would be a jump. Now we turn into React Workshop. Love it.
Yeah, I never know whether to use React Node or React Element, so I always just do React Element and then deal with it. And it's stupid. Okay, so we probably actually don't care about what element it is, but see, this is where building abstractions in React is stupid, because I instantly want to build a reusable marquee, and that means I can't use a UL because it may not be that these children are LIs.
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally just call it a marquee and have this be my children. Whoop. Yeah. There we go. Here, actually, you know what? Even better. There we go. And so then this can render those ULs. And that one. Boom. And that's it. So now I've got my marquee that is a one-use marquee. And that's exactly how it should be.
The only foot gun here is the parent needs to have the overflow hidden, because otherwise you're going to break out the whole... I almost wonder if the parents should be part of this marquee component.
Yeah, sure. Yep, that's fine. I'm not planning on reusing this marquee ever, though. So
I'm sure
that's
people enjoy watching you live nerd out on React.
Yeah, there you go. It's done.
Yeah. And then the burden of maintaining that is in one place. And
yep, and there's no burden of keeping things in sync or anything. You just update the items here, and that's it.
Because the key is that the children are the exact same twice, except the second one has the ARIA hidden. But so having the chunk of markup for that makes total sense, because you don't want someone to, let's change the copy on that one, and then not realizing there's two of them. Yeah, it's perfect. Sweet.
We could probably turn that into a variable, but because those two do need to be the same as well. So let's see, UL class name.
And this is how you end up with abstractions.
Yeah, but
slowly
it's very specific to this use case, so I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
So
thanks. That was awesome. If
you want to do that sort of stuff, like it might sound silly, but now your UL class name, there's no more autocomplete and hover and IntelliSense.
Yeah.
Because by default the VS Code extension only looks at class name, and ng class for Angular devs. But if you want to do more of that stuff, you can. That's something I teach in my next upcoming Pro Tailwind workshop. You can, in the settings of the IntelliSense Tailwind CSS VS Code extension, you can add more scope to where IntelliSense should look. So you can say anything that's marked with a specific comment or that finishes in class name, also look at this, and then you're gonna have the autocomplete suggestions.
All right, so let's do ends in class name because I do this all the time. So it's Tailwind
CSS
class attributes, class regex.
No, regex
It's
is if you want to go really like crazy.
Okay.
Class attributes. See, that's the three
sweet.
default, and then if you add, there's
dark, something like that.
Yes, but you did the star. Yeah.
I just made it up.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, try and then.
Okay, sweet.
Can you hover?
Yeah, it doesn't look like. No, that's not it.
Unless
maybe we need to reload.
Yeah, reload page developer. It saves a lot of things. Let me check what I have in my.
I think I broke it because now even
it does nothing.
Hovering the regular one. Yeah.
So if I know you like code, but if you go in the visual settings panel, it's a bit easier.
Yeah, sure. Here, let me remove this altogether.
Yeah. So it has Tailwind. Yeah, it has the classes. Yeah, but there's some. I remember. There's something with a period somehow. For it to work.
Oh, is it like a regex maybe? So dot star.
Dot star and then classes name dot star again if you had something at the end. Although you might not.
Yeah. Okay, so then I come here. Here, let's reload again.
UL class name.
Hey, yeah, that works. Beautiful.
Yeah. So when you work in React and you do like components with multiple style variants, like a primary button, a impact danger button, it's quite common in Tailwind to organize your styles in an object because you can't. There's something a bit tricky about how the just-in-time engine works, but you can't do dynamic. You can't do like bg-props.color or something because it needs to see the entire screen, entire string class to generate it, and so. Yeah, usually you end up having these lookup objects with different style variants.
Yeah, and so something like this, where
exactly, yeah,
you do something like that. Yeah.
So when you go quite deep in that thinking and you don't have any of the autocomplete, it's you feel you're like, I'm missing something critical about Tailwind. You start typing and it autocompletes with the options, and then you can hover it. So by adding this extension or like the scope of the VS Code IntelliSense extension, you just bring it right back up, which is sweet.
Yeah. So because I have it configured now, I can do spacer class name and it'll still work.
And funnily enough, it's building the content for the Pro Tailwind workshop is what made me finally really enjoy TypeScript, because I discovered this record stuff. So I could the class name object you have, I could type it as a record that has the same values than the size prop, and then you could key of type of would work. I don't know if you define size, and then it's a string. But you need to define. No, it's defined already. What's not happy?
Oh, I did something wrong. I'm not sure what I did wrong. No. It would just be type of size. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So maybe? Now if you instead of SM, well, if you comment one out, it's gonna yell at you, say, hey, you didn't there you go. That's when I was like, aha, because if you rely on these style objects, everything's gonna explode if you don't provide the right key, because you tell it to look for a prop that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and this is actually where well, the reason that was blowing up was because class name is actually assigned to a string, because it'll be the result of whatever that selection is. But we could do satisfies.
That's
There
when
you
I
go.
drop off the
And
cliff in the knowledge.
Boom.
Oh,
So
Satisfy is that news. I remember Matt Pocock talking
yeah,
about
it's
this
a
coming in
new fun
4.9.
one. Yeah, and what's actually cool about this too is now, yeah, I don't have the right thing, but I get autocomplete for what the right thing is. So that's pretty cool too.
I had the autocomplete with the record syntax before, but like I'm sure there's benefits.
Oh, so what you probably got, or what you probably did was like something like options, and
I
then you
defined
put
the
your
type
record.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had type size, blah, blah, blah. And then I did records of, instead of type of, I just had records. I was referencing the props key of, yeah. So my component had like size, color, fonts, whatever, and then yeah. But it's something very similar. But it's funny because I was trying to not put TypeScript in my course because I was like, I want to focus on Tailwind. The more moving parts you bring, the more noise and confusion. And then I realized I can actually make it way more robust with just the record. And in my course, I'm like, don't worry if you don't use types. Just go with it. It's in the challenge. It's gonna tell you what keys it needs until it's correct, which it can only help you. It's not gonna make you more confused. It's just gonna help you. And then I realized there's actually TypeScript was good to teach CSS, which like kind of like not necessarily intuitive, but that's when I realized, okay, now I see the value.
Yeah, totally. I recently went to full on TypeScript for everything. Unless I'm teaching you like JavaScript features.
Yeah, so
like what? Yeah, because it's just. I mean, so many people are using it now. So anyway, cool. Well, I think I've taken so much of your time. And
it's fine. I'm enjoying this.
We got a bunch of stuff done. And it's toward the end of the day for me, and I'm still recovering from jet lag from being in Austria.
All right, you were in Agent Conf.
Yeah, it was amazing. So good. So, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today, getting me started on the right foot. This is so helpful. You don't even know. Like that marquee probably would have taken me an entire day. So thank you for helping me with that.
I'm super glad to hear that. And that there was other parts of the UI that I think are a bit tricky. Just, feel free to ping me on Discord or whatever if you need more help. If you want to do another stream or if you want me to do... I'm always trying to create content around Tailwind. So like if it helps that I build like white label similar UI, but it's not Epic Web Rockets, but it's the same sort of elements, I can also do that, and hopefully it helps you out.
I mean, feel free. You have access to the Figma. You could build the whole thing if you want to, however you like. My end product is going to be all open source anyway, so I don't care if you do the same thing.
Yeah, so sometimes the hardest part about creating content is finding good designs and like good ideas. And your thing is like it's like Disneyland of like really cool problems. So if you don't mind me using some of that to do some content, and then you can like, it's kind of like win-win. I promote my stuff, and then I can use that I don't have to build that part.
Yes, 100%. If you're into it, I'm super into it. So that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know what time it is in Utah. 7 p.m.
Yeah, 5:07 right now.
5:07. That's all right. I'm gonna go on with my day. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you. Something I'm bad at is look at the comments and try to engage with the like. When I stream, there's 2 or 3 people watching. Right now, there's a bunch. There's 130 comments, and we didn't really. I tried to bring that into the fold and like engage with the community, but it's a learning process.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky. The comments that you've had were, as far as I can see, all constructive. Normally the comments I get on my YouTube are, it takes maybe 15 minutes before some bot comes in with a spam site or somebody says something racist. Spamming my community. It's awful. So
do you just turn them off or?
I wish that I could turn them off by default, but Google doesn't, or YouTube doesn't have a way to just say by default, always be off. And so I don't have time to every single time I stream go and turn it off. So I just don't.
Yeah.
I just ignore it.
Yeah.
But I do listen to chat in my Discord. So my bot will automatically create a new thread for all of my live streams. And so I do listen to the chat of people who are real and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen you do some like open streams where you go in Discord and start answering questions. It's a nice way to approach it. I remember one of my very first high-profile live stream that was for Tailwind Labs, and I had Jamin Holmgren from Infinite Red, and then he because he can see the comments like you can now. After like 10 minutes, he was like, Simon, everyone in the chat saying there's someone spamming lots of stuff, and I was like, I have no idea how to moderate, where to go, and I was like with the key lights and stuff. I was like, please, someone. And I think Adam Wadden was in the comments, and he went and just moderated it. But yeah, it's quickly something that's supposed to be a nice addition to a stream that becomes this like anxious thing. It takes over definitely in the direction you want to go to.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Anyway, thank you so much again for your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, I'd love to follow up on this. I think I told you offline, but I like making little teaser videos, so I'll probably make a 2-3 minute edit of the funnest part of this stream and like share it. And I'm recording locally now, so I can share all of this with you. You can use whatever you want for any purpose you want. Don't have to ask me. And yeah,
I probably I'll hand that off to Skill Recordings, and they'll probably use it for something.
Yeah.
So
they're pretty good.
I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. And
bye, everybody.
Bye.